following podcast is recorded and produced by Emerge, a media creators co-op.
Out of this relationship that we have with tech. Bitcoin's always moving with tech. It's not like gold yet. It isn't traded like gold yet. And that goes down to the people that own it.
I don't want to give financial advice on here.
If anyone was questioning how early we're so early that some of the largest capital pools in the world still don't understand what Bitcoin is.
The asset itself is creating nothing.
There's a cryptocurrency which might actually do something. And then there's one which does nothing. I call it the pet rock, the Bitcoin or something like that.
Bitcoin doesn't need what companies need. That's a fascinating thing. Bitcoin doesn't need high margins. It doesn't need buybacks. It doesn't need earnings. It doesn't need higher capex. It's not a company. It's not a tech stock. It's crazy that I have to say this out loud, but clearly Bitcoin is still misunderstood by the broader investment public. That's just a fact. Hang in there. Hang in there. Get these tech software levered Wall Street junkies out of our asset class. Buy their dip. If Bitcoin is capitalized and held by hodlers of last resort, of people that are monetizing it, that are saving in it, it will start trading like a hard asset. It's never made sense that it traded like a tech stock. It's because a lot of these tech guys got into it over the 2010s in these large swaths of liquidity. And now that there's a liquidity regime change, a lot of that's unwinding. Hang in there. Turn on your DCAs. We are almost home. We are almost home.
Welcome to the Defion Productions podcast. I'm your host, the hardest working nobody in Bitcoin, Don. This is our weekly Monday live stream, live from Western New York, and that was Jack Mahler's. One of my favorite follows in podcast watches. I love the podcasts from the Empty Closet. He does really good videos. I think we've shown quite a few. Rich, you are cool with some of the editing he does and how he does this content. That was a good way to start the podcast, because last week we talked about the carnage that was in the markets. You can go to the price right now, take a look at what's happening. After we filmed last week, it continued to go down, but we have had a rebound as of the last 24 to 48 hours, sitting at 63,318, down 11% from last week, up 0.5% in the last 24 hours. The price did get in the 60s, like 60,500 yesterday I saw. So we're up around 3K since the low of yesterday. We had a nice little bounce. The total crypto market cap, 2.19 trillion. Fear and greed sitting at 16, extreme fear. Looking at the rest of the cryptos, Ethereum down 15%. BNB down 12%, Solana down 16.9%. A lot of red in the last 7 days, a lot of green in the last 24 hours. Last week, one of the catalysts was Michael Saylor announcing a sale for the first time in 4 years. So 32 Bitcoin, and it was the first time since 2022. And then we see this today. Strive, which is a strategy product, ironically acquires an additional 32 Bitcoin for 2.1 million at an average cost of 63,911. So last week, Strategy sells 32 and Strive buys 32. Kind of weird. Also released today was this. Michael Saylor. Strategy buys 1,550 Bitcoin for 101.3 million. So last week they sell 32, which was worth 2.5 million. Everybody lost their shit. Bitcoin was dying. It's over. Get out, sell everything, because Strategy is going to collapse and go bankrupt. And 1 week later, they literally buy like 45 times what they sold last week, 1,550 Bitcoin. So as we said last week, a lot of noise. You got to sift through the noise. I'm glad that Strategy did some selling the 32 Bitcoin last week, because we got to see that the market threw up on itself over 32 Bitcoin. And it was really just some accounting, moving numbers around. That's really all it was. He bought another 1,550. It's okay if Strategy sells a couple Bitcoin as long as they're net buyers. And at the end of the day, that's what they are. They're net buyers. A lot of overreacting. I think that's what we've seen the last week. So, Rich, we talked about it last week. You were sitting next to me last week. We had somebody else producing, and we were kind of talking about it. But what are your thoughts after seeing the sale last week of the 32, and then Strive buying 32, and then them buying 1,550? What are your thoughts seeing that?
I feel like some people got played. I feel like not necessarily by Saylor per se. I think like he was doing what he was going to do. Like, I don't think he necessarily, I think you felt that he was doing to see what would happen. So there is that element. He probably did, but there's also part of me that thinks like everybody made a big noise and sold, and then people probably bought some at a cheaper rate, and it is down. But I mean, I was watching a lot of stuff just on Threads, just because I'm on Threads a lot.
Not on Threads. I'm not on that one.
It's okay. It's just X-like.
That's a Instagram meta product type.
It's,
okay.
And it's kind of a fun one. There's a lot of people in there that think that they know what they're talking about, and I'm not saying I know Bitcoin, but on that one in particular, they were like, "Oh, it's dead. It's it's candy. It's like candy money, or like Monopoly, like all these other goofy things." And it's like, I just, okay, whatever. Like, just go back and buy some more Chevy stock or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, you get that across social media, and in these quote unquote bear markets when the price is down, sentiment is low. All the experts come out of the woodwork that told you that Bitcoin was dead, that Bitcoin was a bad investment, that have been saying that since it was probably $100 or $200. They're still saying it. At 60 something thousand, and on these dips, people will tell you it's dead. People will tell you that it's candy or pet rock, like Mahler showed by Warren Buffett. And at the end of the day, just keeps resiliency and keeps moving forward. We can take a look at this next article I got up here. Things are moving in the Congress with Senator Lummis. The Clarity Act passed the Senate committee stage. This major Bitcoin and crypto bill is now moving for the full Senate floor for a vote. I listen to a Finances Spaces every single morning. David Towell is running it now. It was a Mario space, and now David kind of took it over. Bunch of guys that speak on there every single day, and they have crypto, quote unquote, crypto and Bitcoin guys that speak on a daily basis about the status of the market. And there's a guy that speaks about specifically the Clarity Act and keeps things updated. And he spoke today and seems to think that we're really, really close to this thing getting across the finish line and being voted on. And I think there's a holiday coming up with the July 4th holiday. And once that holiday comes to pass, they don't come back till like September or something. They don't crazy.
Come back to September.
They're gone all summer long. So if this thing doesn't get voted on and pass by the July 4th holiday, that we're not going to see anything until the fall. So not that that's pressure. I don't necessarily think that it's a must that this thing passes. And honestly, if I'm being totally honest, I don't give a shit what happens to this bill. But it's obvious that if the Clarity Act passes, it's going to be positive for price. It's going to be positive for the market, and there'll be a lot of buzz, and it'll be a sentiment shift. So it would be a net positive if this thing does get voted on and does actually pass Congress, and we have some official legislation. So Senator Lummis seems to think that we're close. The guy that I listen to on the Finances Space on X seems to think that it's close. So it's trending in that direction. I haven't looked on the betting markets or any of those prediction markets to see like where they have it. But it all things kind of point to things going in the right direction.
I'm kind of surprised. I didn't think it would. I thought it was going to be dead until the fall or after the election.
I think it's still possible.
Yeah.
I think it's still possible. You never know, like, the way the winds blow at the end of the day, who knows? This next article that we got here, I thought was kind of important to talk about. This was posted by Bitcoin News. So this is on the SEC talking about Bitcoin, crypto, and open source code. SEC's Hester Pierce, open source code is protected speech. And I'm curious to get your thoughts on this after I read it. Protected speech under the First Amendment. SEC Commissioner Hester Pierce put code is speech at the top of her list of principles for preventing SEC jurisdictional overreach into crypto. Speaking at Princeton's blockchain camp, Pierce argued that publishing open source software is protected by the First Amendment and that developers who simply write and publish code for others to use should not be required to register with the SEC. Publishing code is speech, which the First Amendment protects. Pierce specifically cited research from Coin Center, noting the software remains protected speech even when it facilitates activities that were historically handled by regulated intermediaries. The remarks come as the SEC re-examines key definitions around brokers, exchanges, and other market intermediaries in the crypto industry. For Bitcoin and open source developers, it's one of the clearest statements yet from a sitting SEC commissioner that writing, publishing, updating, and advocating for software should not, by itself, trigger securities regulation. Thoughts?
That's interesting. If art's considered free speech and other creative mediums are considered free speech, and then even like porn is considered free speech. So in many ways, like a lot of the stuff that, I think she's right. I think like that makes a lot of sense that it's written by people. It's, it's not, it's interesting. Like, I don't know. I think like that they got a really good case that would be protected under free speech. And it's one of those things that it's going to have to go to court. I don't know if anything else that has ever been like software driven has been considered. I mean, the closest thing that I can think of that is software that would ever have been, people said they got to get rid of it, would be like going back to the 90s with video games or something. So and that was considered to be free speech, and that was all software.
Well, this is interesting that the SEC chair said this, because there was a big push a couple of months back with the Samurai Wallet co-founders, Keani Rodriguez and William Longer Hill, who were sent to prison because they were considered to be let me read some of this so to bring it into context. Yeah. Co-founders of Samurai Wallet, Keani Rodriguez and William Longer Hill, were indicted in 2024 for operating an unlicensed money transmitting business and facilitating money laundering. They ultimately pled guilty and were sentenced in late 2025 to federal prison. The legal status of code as free speech was a central but heavily contested argument in their defense. The core legal arguments: the code as speech defense. Advocates and defense attorneys argue that writing and publishing open source software, in this case, Bitcoin privacy and CoinJoin mixing tools, is protected as pure expression under the First Amendment. The prosecution stance: the Department of Justice countered that developers were not prosecuted merely for writing code. Instead, prosecutors argued that actively operating a centralized coordinator service collected fees and marketed their platform to illicit actors, which crossed the line from protected speech into criminal regulated financial conduct. The Coin Center framework: to clarify these boundaries, advocacy groups like Coin Center argue that software, even when it executes functional tasks, remains protected under the First Amendment. Their framework asserts that developers are protected as long as they merely publish code without taking custody of user assets.
No, exactly.
And that's what they did. Immediately, transactions are operating as centralized commercial service. These guys have been in jail for about 4 or 5 months now. And the SEC chair coming out and saying that code is protected free speech. These guys got a case for
I think my argument, and I think my point would be, and my thoughts would have been while you were reading that, before you even got to that point, would be like, as long as you're not committing a crime, because then you can't use free speech to commit a crime. That's why you have things like, you can't say that this guy is a whatever, because even though that's not free speech, because it's libel. So like, there are exceptions to free speech. You can't yell fire in a movie theater. There are things that are,
can't say you're going to kill the president.
Right. Exactly. So those are the types of things. And again, if unless you can prove that what they were doing there was criminal intent, so to speak, and doesn't sound like there was, it depends. I don't know the case well enough, but if there was the money stuff part of it is where it does that. The code part might be fine, but it was the intent of what they were doing with fees and money and stuff like that. That's probably where those people will have a case, whether it, it's interesting. Like that's a good case. That is an interesting case study.
So if you remember, Ross Ulbricht, if you remember that case that we talked about on this podcast, he's a big, figure in the Bitcoin space. He was the Dread Pirate Roberts was his pseudonym, and he was running Silk Road. And Silk Road was a platform that people could go on and basically buy anything at the time with Bitcoin, because at that time, Bitcoin was like the only cryptocurrency that existed in those early days, where they could buy drugs, they could buy sex workers, they could buy hitmen, like all these weird things. He was just the website facilitator. He didn't actually sell those crimes per se. So he was incarcerated for a life sentence, and he was about 11 years or so into that life sentence when President Trump was elected, and he promised the Bitcoin community that he was going to communicate that sentence. He pardoned Ross Ulbricht famously as one of the first things he did in 2024. And that was basically Ross facilitating a website with all that other stuff going on, but he wasn't necessarily selling those services. So these guys, the co-founders of the wallet, they have the wallet, but if there's, money laundering that's happening, they're not necessarily doing the money laundering. They're just providing the service where somebody launders the money. It would be like JP Morgan Chase arresting Jamie Dimon because somebody was money laundering, where they sold something and they were using the JP Morgan Chase to, funnel the funds and using bank accounts. And it's JP Morgan would be held liable. And it just makes no sense for that to be a thing.
That's still the boogeyman with Bitcoin anywhere. Like, again, that was a big thing that was coming up.
It's a very low IQ argument that
it's all criminal.
Senator Warren uses often.
Yeah. And everybody that's like the libtards that are, there's a lot of libtards
100%
on threads. And that's their go-to thing all the time. Well, it's just a Ponzi. It's a pyramid scheme. It's a Ponzi scheme, or it's just being used by criminals. Now, the money's used by criminals, so we didn't get rid of money. Money's used by criminals every single day. Stocks, art, everything's used by criminals. Any type of currency is used, and there's all kinds of ways of do money laundering. I mean, so Bitcoin is just no different than any other type of currency in that respect.
This comment right here is really good. If you want to highlight this on the screen, this is a good point. If publishing code isn't protected speech, then innovation starts needing permission. That's a dangerous road to go down.
Good point.
It's a very good point.
No, I like that point a lot.
It's a very good point.
I like that a lot.
And I mean, to pivot over to like some of the AI stuff, like you see this AI explosion that's going on. Like, I'm pretty sure and again, I'm not super well versed in all that stuff, so I don't want to speak in a way where like I'm any sort of expert. I may even sound dumb saying this, but like I'm pretty sure like they're not like in real time asking for permission every single time something's being like developed or looked into in AI. There's just so much money going into that space. You know how much they would stop progression in that sector if they were doing that?
Well, if somehow you were able to use ChatGPT or some type of, AI to create something that so you could commit a crime, again, the person's going to get arrested for committing the crime. ChatGPT or any of these other ones, they're not going to be the ones that are going to get arrested. It's the people that used it illegally. They're going to get sued or they're going to get arrested. And again, maybe at some point, if AI continues to develop the way it goes, government may say you have an obligation to make it a safe space so these things can't happen. So you're going to be expected to write code that does that. But at the moment, until something changes, I think it's AI would be the same thing. Like it's I would say the code is protected speech unless you're doing something with AI, which is cause for libel. But again, it's the person that did it. It's not the company.
Let me ask you a question. I'm curious what your answer is here. I don't know if I'm asking you to answer or if I'm asking you to give me what you think the overall societal answer would be. I think that's more what I'm asking. I'm going to ask you this question and I want you to give me the answer, what you think society thinks is more dangerous. AI or crypto?
Ooh.
Yeah.
I don't think people are scared of crypto.
You don't think so?
No, I think most people. No, I don't think most people are. First, most people don't get it. They don't understand what the fuck it is.
But I don't think they get AI
but
either.
They're not scared of it. No, but they're scared of AI because
But
AI.
what are they scared of?
We're all going to lose our jobs. There's even a little bit of the like technology's going too far kind of thing. Like, the Terminator, like that. Like there is I'm not saying they think that, it's going to create robots.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like people are very concerned. I think they're much, much more scared of AI, whether it's because of job security. Even teachers are like, they're afraid of AI because it could, it's making teaching very difficult, but theoretically it's just another one of these advancements that someone say, I don't need a teacher. I can just go through and just learn so. I mean, I think AI is people are much more scared of AI. It's such a big boogeyman, whether it's for job security or someone is going to get really good at it and find a way to steal all of everything in your bank account. I mean, I think, or just a lot of those kinds of things.
I know we got some live viewers right now. If anybody's watching and you want to comment, I'm curious because I have a theory. I think if you want to comment what you think, you think society views crypto I say crypto because it's just what encompasses. I don't think society views Bitcoin and crypto separate. We do as Bitcoin maxis that crypto is shit and Bitcoin is its own thing. But when we're talking about society, they're just going to lump it all into crypto. That's why I'm saying crypto. So crypto or AI, what do you think society thinks is more dangerous? I think that the narrative that's being shifted, I don't think it's even close. I think AI is much more dangerous. But I think that the narrative that's being shifted, especially when you hear people like Elizabeth Warren talk or some of these other like liberal politicians, will make you think like crypto is going to just decimate society, that every single criminal is using crypto to like take over the world. So I think and again, it's a lot of money on both sides is going into AI. Like there's a lot of money to be made, not just for like regular people. Like Congress is going to make a shit ton of money, not to mention the president and his family. They're going to make a lot of money on this AI. There's a lot of money to be made. So they wanted that to be less threatening than the crypto thing, in my opinion. So if you're watching again, and I'm always terrible at doing this, please like, subscribe, comment, all that kind of cool stuff. But this specifically, if you're watching live, if you're on X, jump on our Defion Labs Productions YouTube, comment there so we can see it right on the screen. I don't think we get the notifications on X. Or go to my Facebook, Don NF Bitcoin, Don Rinaldi, comment there. I'm curious what people think. Either you or society thinks, is crypto or AI more of a threat to society overall? How people view that. And like I said, I think that the narrative shift is that they're trying to get you to think that crypto is more.
I think I agree with you that there are people in those rich people, government people that are bought by rich people are trying. I would agree definitely that they want to make crypto the big boogeyman, like or just Bitcoin in particular. That's why they were so excited when it crashed a little bit.
I just put into AI because I was curious. I just typed in, does the average American feel AI or crypto is more dangerous? Americans view AI and cryptocurrency as presenting similar levels of danger, with public opinion incredibly split between the two technologies. Recent polling indicates that 45% of U.S. adults believe cryptocurrency investing carries more risk than it's worth, while 44% feel AI is advancing faster than they are comfortable with. Pretty good stats. Societal risk. A majority of Americans, 57%, rate the societal risks of AI as high, far outweighing the 25% who see high societal benefits. So that more than double feel the risks are higher than the rewards. Primary fears. The most common worries revolve around the spread of misinformation. We didn't say that one. I guess that's good. Job displacement and the erosion of human skills. And the desire for control. Roughly 60% of Americans state they want more control over how AI is used in their daily lives. Crypto. Safety concerns. More than 60% of Americans report having little to no confidence that investing in, trading, or using crypto is safe and reliable. That's a high number. Financial risk. Nearly half of the public considers crypto riskier than the potential reward, a sentiment amplified by recent high-profile platform collapses and rising incidents of AI-fueled crypto fraud. While crypto is primarily seen as an unsafe financial risk, AI is viewed as a broader societal threat that requires stricter regulation. So that last part is kind of like where you stand.
Yeah.
And it seems like the society probably stands.
I can't avoid AI. Like it's everywhere I go. Like if I open up my email, it's like, let me paraphrase this email thread for you. I'm like, no, I know how to read the emails. I don't need to be lazy. And I can't avoid AI. It seems like everywhere I go, people are talking about it. It's affecting everything. Like you can see people using it all the time. We use it all. I use it,
I use it
within my own business. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm not displacing
Just makes
any work
things easier.
except myself. But just kind of, yeah, interesting. Good question.
We can pivot to this. This really aggravates me. If there's any truth to this, it's just absolutely ridiculous. So Kalshi, one of the betting markets, has it at 32% that Trump pardons Sam Bankman-Fried. I don't even know how there's even a chance that he does that. I saw that today and I was like, how is that number? 32% high to me. That's a 1 in 3 chance.
How would Trump benefit financially, politically by pardoning him?
That's a good question.
Let's be honest.
There has to be
most pardons I feel come with some type of
he pardoned
not just Trump. I don't want to they all do it.
He pardoned CZ and he made some sort of like deal with CZ and Binance.
Right.
So there would have to be something. It would be crazy because they'd do it right in our face. Like he would pardon him and then there'd be some sort of partnership or some sort of like position or some stupid thing but I mean, this guy, billions and billions of dollars he scammed from average Americans. It would be such a spit in the face to just like regular people of just like another like George Carlin, it's a big club and you ain't in it thing. Like I don't see how even Trump, for all his narcissism and stupidity at times, would make that move. The optics of it would just be terrible.
Yeah, I don't mean.
He's the face of what people say when they say crypto and Bitcoin are bad. Like they talk about him and
somehow
FTX.
that money was going to Trump. Like somehow he's got enough money hidden somewhere that he can buy it, because a lot of these pardons are bought. If they're not because it's some friend of the family or family, literally, the next thing, there are those that are legit, the people that should be pardoned. And then they tends to come down after that. It's that, it's either some type of influence or, I donated $1 million to your campaign. So can you pardon my brother-in-law? Like that type of thing. Or literally, I'm going to give you cash. I'm going to give you cash if you pardon somebody. And like we know that it happens. And again, it's not just a Republican president. They all do it. Like I don't have an evidence of it, but we all know there's too many pardons and there's always all kinds of questions about, well, how did that guy get pardoned? And this one would be really bad because
terrible.
Again, it would be like all those guys back in the 90s that, what is it? Like the early 2000s, like Enron, those guys, like those, none at that time, none of those guys got pardoned because they were so, a few of them got like the ones where at the end so they could die at home or something like that. But most of them never got pardoned.
Don't they typically pardon people towards the end of a term anyways? Like the Ross Ulbricht thing was kind of an outlier because he made that promise to Bitcoiners and he probably felt like, and rightfully so, he had to make good on that rather quickly. I don't think he's done any other pardons outside of Ross. I'm actually curious. He pardons. Well, CZ. He did CZ. That's right. President Trump has what? Clemency. What is that? What's the difference between clemency and a pardon?
I think it's the same thing.
Oh, that's right. He did a lot of the January 6ers, right?
Yeah, he did all of them.
President Donald Trump has granted yeah, that was dumb for me to say that. I knew better. I don't know why I thought that. President Donald Trump has granted clemency to over 1,800 individuals in his second term. This figure includes more than 1,500 people covered by sweeping blanket pardon for January. So 1,500 of the 1,800 is just the J6 people, as well as over 100 other individuals and additional mass pardons, such as clemency tied to the 2020 election fake elector scheme.
The difference with those is that anybody that theoretically he thought could testify against him in a situation, he pardoned. And also anybody related to fake, anybody he thinks that got convicted for saying things like, the election was blah, blah, blah. He needs to pardon them for his narrative that it is that the election was fixed. So that's why those people, and obviously the January 6th people, like some of them have been hired to work for ICE. Like that's been pretty much concerned. Like there's a lot of them are like his group. That's his core. So he wants to stay strong to his base. So that's why they got pardoned. So that's not a financial as much as just he wants that. He wants to have those people stay, that core of that 30% that believe that he was right to do January 6th. They'll support him. That's in my opinion.
So Biden holds the record for most total acts of clemency, issuing over 4,000, which is scary.
That's a lot.
When you
I didn't realize it was that high.
Yeah, when you dive into the fact that we think he auto-penned that and there was somebody else making the call, not him.
Well, it's not like anybody signing any. I mean, I hate the auto pen thing. They all use the auto pen. They're not sitting there in the office.
Well,
they don't work in an office.
I don't
signing
think.
papers.
Yeah, I know, but
your.
I don't think the auto
pen.
pen. But I don't think the auto pen means the same thing. What you're thinking, I think it means like somebody else was in control of that. Not that there's like an auto pen where they're like it's not Trump signing things. I think that there's like other individuals or entities that were making those decisions throughout at least the course of the last probably year or two of that presidency. And a lot of those pardons and clemencies probably came at the end. I think it would, I
don't doubt that.
That's
every president.
There would be a good, like if somebody is a political podcaster or does like stuff like that, to do a deep dive into all the pardons that were made the last year or two of that presidency to see like what they're tied to or who they're tied to. Because that's a lot. That's a high number. And the fact that it probably wasn't Biden that was making those decisions.
No, I don't think he was. But I think a lot of those are just, they just do it. Like there's people within the White House and within that, that staff that he just is that, and then maybe they went through a list with those guys, but both of them probably slept through the meeting.
So I think we both agree that small businesses are the lifeblood of this country.
Yep.
Put this stat up there. Small business bankruptcies are up 36% in the past year. That's a lot.
Yeah. That's crazy.
So typically I think it's what one in five businesses, small businesses last past 5 years. What's the number? It's in the first 5 years, it's like 70% or something.
Something like that. There's a lot of businesses that don't make it to 5 years. That's when I was preparing mine and doing my business plan, and you got to have your 5-year plan and all that stuff. Even some of the grants you get, there is an aspect of, with the grants, for example, if you get a grant, the only way you don't pay, like if you don't stay open for 5 years, you could be asked to pay the grant back. That's why some businesses close and go bankrupt, so they don't have to pay back. There's that scam, unfortunately. But I think this number is significantly higher. And, and even a lot of people I know that do small little things, like independent photographers who I work a lot with, their business is down. And everyone that I've talked to, they think it's just because the economy is so shit. Well, it's a combination of they do not have extra money to do photo shoots. Maybe that's something if they're getting married that they forego. They're just going to have somebody with an iPhone take some pictures. Also, they don't want to drive. They can't. Gas is getting expensive, so they don't want to drive all the way out to Medina to get their pictures taken. So I've heard that just from local small businesses, little small entrepreneurs that I know, that this last year has been very difficult for them. And there was a drop off on just that disposable income that keeps a lot of these small businesses afloat.
One of the comments under here said, is AI spending killing small businesses? That's a legitimate question. I wonder what the in this one says 36% in a single year, why big tech is posting record revenues and AI stocks are hitting all-time highs, is the clearest picture of a two-speed economy you'll find in one stat. Yep. The same interest rate environment hits a 10-person bakery in JP Morgan very differently.
Yep.
Yeah. Yep.
For sure.
And there's been a lot of talk about SpaceX, the SpaceX IPO. Yep. We don't have to dive into that totally, but there is a little bit of there's some chatter that like the SpaceX IPO is like forcing its way into IRAs and like regular people's index funds, and people are going to have exposure that don't even know they're going to have exposure, and it's going to make the price go up higher. And then, the IPO will be this high price. It'll probably go up the first couple of days or weeks and then dump. And then all the people will get excited and come, like regular people like me or you will go in and buy that IPO, and then the price will crash on us. And then they'll come in and scoop up all those shares. And you know what I'm saying? Like, yep. Rinse and repeat. And Elon Musk, after that IPO, is probably going to be he's going to be the look down here. It says his real-time net worth is about 800 billion. When that SpaceX IPO launches, he'll be the world's first trillionaire.
Yeah.
That's just like mind numbing. Right? I mean,
yeah, and let's be honest. I mean, it's not the best electric car out there. SpaceX is not good.
What makes SpaceX
they're not
good?
Successful?
Aren't they launching rockets and
they blow up? They blow up all the time. Like, okay. They're not reliable. You can kind of see even a shift from NASA not using SpaceX as much because he's so far behind on so many things. His development's not there. People they went around the moon and did very little with, Musk related stuff. We can think of other people whose companies are much more successful that you could have understood why they became trillionaires because of like Bill Gates, right? Bill Gates, everybody had Microsoft in there. Microsoft was everywhere, right? It was every computer. It was in education. It was everywhere. Like, I don't own a Tesla. I only know one person that owns a Tesla.
Troy did. Troy owned one.
What was that?
Troy owned a Tesla.
Yeah, well, okay. So, I know two people own a Tesla, but it's not but everybody has Microsoft. So I just don't understand, again, because all his stuff is more like a stock than an actual commodity, right?
For a long time, Tesla wasn't even making money and its stock was going up. So it's not just to be fair to Tesla and Elon. There's a lot of companies in our economy that don't make money and the stocks go up. So, but let's show this tweet here because this is really important. This was released, I think, yesterday or today. Bank of America, there are too many red flags in the stock market. So somebody grokked to ask exactly what Bank of America said, where they were coming from. Bank of America take June 5th note by Sativa, Submarinium, and Team. So this would have been, the 5th was Friday. They checked 10 proprietary bear market signposts. Right now, 70% have triggered. Levels historically seen near past peaks. Key red flags they flagged: softening consumer demand and credit conditions, e.g. recent slow survey; extreme valuations, S&P 500 expensive on 17 of 20 metrics, rich versus tech era bubble; narrowing breadth and speculation; big tech outperformance spread widest since February of 2000, the .com levels; gains concentrated in few names; other momentum positioning signals flashing. Bottom line from Bank of America: there's just too many red flags. take profits and be cautious in the broad cap weighted index. They still see opportunities in individual stocks. This is what triggered the headlines. Classic late cycle caution note, not financial advice, just summarizing the research. And then this guy asked, can you break this down simple for me? Not like a 5-year-old, but maybe simpler version. BOA tracks 10 warning signs. Usually flash right before the stock market hits peaks and drops. Right now, 70% are on, levels near past tops. Regular people spending less, plus credit tightening, loans are harder. Stock looks super expensive versus company earnings. Pricier than dot-com bubble days. Almost all gains are just a few tech stocks, which you talked about in this podcast before. Like basically the top 7 stocks of the S&P 500 are where all the gains are.
Yep.
The rest is like negative.
Yep.
And it says late cycle heads up. So like if cycles are still a thing, because they haven't been since 2008, we really haven't seen proper cycle bust and booms since the great financial crisis. I think with all this AI stuff, we're going to see that again. I think we're going to see a big, maybe we still got some room to run and there's going to be another boom, but the bust is going to be epic. And we talked about this last week on this podcast, like that AI, just like not everybody's going to make it, right? I mean, not every one of these AI companies are going to be, there's going to be some pets.com in there, right?
Yep.
I mean, they all can't be the best.
No, there's too many, and many of them don't. There's too many. There's just too many out there for any of them from them all to make it. Like unless you can't open up 20 restaurants on a street that doesn't have enough people to go to 20 restaurants. They can't all make it. It could be really cool. The vibe might be great. But they can't all stay open unless there is a populace that can support those restaurants. And I think that's kind of where we are with AI. There's just too many versions of it. People are settling into a couple things. Some people are morally against it, so they're not using it. So some of these companies I think I used the analogy last week to weed stores. There's just too many weed stores. There's a lot, and they don't know. Some of them were open like 6 months and they closed. It's like, how do they even think? Like, there's no way you can think your business is going to be successful in 6 weeks. Like, there's 6 months. It just unless you're selling the hottest commodity of something that just somehow it hits. But that's not weed like that, But the same thing with AI. There's just too many. I'm going to use this one. I'm going to use this one. I'm going to use this one. And some of their softwares, from what I've read, it's all, we're going to do this. We're going to do this. We're going to do this. They don't actually have the intellectual property working. Like it's not an actual thing. Like what's the one Pi coin? It was like they kept talking about trash. it was gonna launch and it was gonna be this and it was gonna be that. It didn't even exist. Like it wasn't even a thing. What's it worth now?
Yeah, I'm gonna look. I'm curious.
At the very bottom.
It's
just below Melania
down there. Where is it? Did I miss it? It was like in the top. Oh, there it is. 13 cents.
13 cents. What's Melania at?
Oh,
am I going to get my money back?
That's down like 98%. I got to type that in. God knows where that one's at. 7 cents.
Oh, okay. There you go.
It's just trash, garbage.
Yep.
Absolute garbage. I want to show this. I'm going to show this video. I got to go back on it because I started to. This is a friend of the show, I guess we can say, Ron Paul, since we had his chief of staff on here, being interviewed and talking about Bitcoin.
What's your thoughts on Bitcoin and government's role in regulation of it?
Well, the government should keep their nose out of it. They state officials can become involved if somebody commits fraud. So it shouldn't be regulated by the government, and it shouldn't be taxed. One of the reasons I've been associated with cryptocurrencies has been because I've had legislation introduced for many years for competing currencies, believing that the dollar is in big trouble And even today, and what's going on in Russia, the dollar is under attack and it's going to get a lot worse. So people are looking for options. Hayek, the great Austrian economist, advised competing currencies using a basket of commodities, other things. And I want the market to make the determination. We should legalize competition, not only for us to have competition, but we need the right to compete with our own government. Governments, though, it's not the U.S. government. It's not new. It's the historic absolute of all governments having money as a total monopoly. They do not want to be challenged because if you can create the money, you're a very, very powerful people. And that, of course, is why, since we've had a fiat currency since 1971, and it's a world currency, it's big time, big business, but it's also going to be a big time collapse when that happened. So the fact that the IRS comes along and said that we're going to tax Bitcoin, their declaration is, it's not a currency, and I'm not even convinced that it's a real currency, but it can be a substitute for transferring funds, and that should be legal. But the tax on here, of course, I don't like taxes. They don't need more taxes. I'm not for any new taxes. I certainly don't want to tax something that's trying to compete, with the government. So, but the taxes is to make the declaration, our monopoly will stay in place. The strangest thing about our government not wanting any competition is if you take out an old silver dollar that might be worth $25, and you and I have a $25 transaction, and it's been on the books that gold and silver is legal tender, and it says $25, it says $1. Can't we do that? No, you go to prison for those kind of things because you have to use not silver and gold or a legal tender coin that the government makes. You have to use a paper currency, which has nothing to do. It's a note. It's a debt instrument, and we are forced and compelled to use as money. So taxing Bitcoin is wrong.
Senator Paul was so far ahead of his time, which at the time when he was running for president and he was making his run in Congress, he's like the original Tom Massey, I guess you can kind of say. Like he was the guy that was rocking the boat back then.
Yep.
I can see why he didn't gain the prominence that he should have to get the following that he should have gotten back then to be a real leader, because he's thinks about finance in the way that a logical, non-corrupted person thinks about finance. Not your average politician that's been corrupted, that's looking out for themselves, that works for the system, closest to the money printer, the Cantillon effect, all that stuff. Like his story and what he's been saying hasn't changed in 25 years. He's been talking the same game before Bitcoin existed, and it was gold and it was silver, and he still talks gold and silver, but like he recognizes the value of Bitcoin and the proposition of like the government should have, fiat currency should have competition. And the fact that they don't want competition isn't good for anybody except the government. What are your thoughts on that video of or Ron Paul as a whole?
He's right. I've always liked Ron Paul. I don't agree with everything he says, but I always like Ron Paul. I think he's true. He's one of the few guys that has not compromised his values over the years, at least that we know.
Very few. Yeah.
And, and he's also not had a lot of friends over the years because of it. Like both sides get really fed up with him because I think he's one of those guys that says what he means. And,
his son gets it too.
What was that?
His son gets it too.
Yeah,
Man.
I like his son a lot too. Like I like his son calls a spade, whether it's his party or not. And, he doesn't like corruption.
Is he a Republican or is he independent like Ron?
No, he's Republican.
Is he?
Yeah. I mean, ultimately, he's right. He's the idea that the way things work is competition. And the best way to improve the dollar, to bring more money into the economy is to make the dollar work harder so it can it needs to be able to do more, and it's doing less now. And that's because the choices we've made. So if other things would make the dollar stronger, and because it would move things around, I think he's right. I think he's a smart guy. And and he's honest about it. He's like, I'm not sure if it's a currency or not, but like, I like that quote. Like, he doesn't want people to think that, oh, look at, he's a Bitcoin. Like, no, this is my opinion. And I am what I am. And that's why I've always liked the Pauls.
Good comment here. Ron Paul has been giving such wisdom for more than 50 years. The people in charge of government change. The system does not. Voting has had little effect on the administration of fiat money. Bitcoin can change all that. Each individual can make the decision to adopt it or not. Yeah. Good point.
Discuss your thoughts on Bitcoin.
All right. We can start to wind this down a little bit here. I'm going to show this last slide. There is we had in previous cycles, we had Plan B with his Plan B model of where he charted and thought the Bitcoin price was going to go, et cetera, et cetera. Now we have this power law model, and I want to get an AI. What is a power law so I can explain it a little bit better? So a power law is a mathematical relationship between two quantities where a relative change in one results in a proportional relative change in the other, independent of their initial size, expressed as that math equation. It indicates that as one value goes up, the other scales exponentially by a set factor. The core concept, unlike linear relationships where things change by a constant amount or bell curves where most data clusters are on average, power laws describe highly unequal distributions. Real-world examples. Power laws are often called the 80-20 rule because they govern systems where a vast majority of the outcomes are driven by a very small minority of inputs. And this guy, Giovanni, and he's an Italian, I forget his last name, but he's been credited with coming up with the power law being attributed to Bitcoin. Since inception, it has followed the power law for the last 17 years. So the Bitcoin power law end price projections until 2035. Of course, actual price can end up higher or lower, but this helps get me a baseline for where things are going. So according to the power law that's been playing out thus far, again, past performance isn't indicative of future results, but it's kind of been doing its thing. According to the power law, the year-end price for 2026 would be about 152, 2027, 210, 28, 284, 29, 378, 2030, 497, 2031, 645, 2032, 829. And according to the power law, sometime around 2032, 2033, we should have experienced the first $1 million coin, 1.05 million in 2033, 2034, 1.33 million, 2035, 1.66 million. I don't know. I'm not a Nostradamus, but like I said, this Giovanni guy has tracked Bitcoin since inception, and it has been following. If you look at the power law, so let's go back here. Bitcoin chart over the power law. So this is the power law, and this is Bitcoin since inception, and it's followed. If you look, the purple line, the red line, the highs and the lows, exponentially, it hasn't gone outside of this zone. So if it follows this same path, theoretically, we're supposed to have, at the end of this year, somewhere around 152. I mean, maybe it's 100, and then next year it goes over to, I don't know. I don't know. I'm just throwing this out here that, we might have $1 million Bitcoin by 2033, and I ain't mad at that. If that's how long we got to wait. What's that? We're 7 years. 7 years for $1 million. I can take that. I can stomach that. Even 2035, I can stomach that. 9 years, I can stomach that. We're gonna get done a little bit early today. Again, if you're watching this live, please go to our YouTube channel, Defion Labs Productions, subscribe to the podcast, like our videos. If you're watching this on one of the other social media platforms on Facebook or X, Please share the video, repost it, all that kind of cool stuff. We are a Bitcoin only podcast. We are the only Bitcoin only podcast that live streams in the Western New York area, which is Buffalo, Niagara Falls, Rochester. We're the only one that does it every single week. Please support us. We're doing content for the Bitcoin only maxis. As always, don't trust, verify. Thanks for watching. See you later. Peace.